Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Where's My Sage? We are live here in our studio, and
Are you sure?
Kristie's in hers, I'm in mine. So we're on for another great show tonight. We have Dave Spinks on with us tonight. Ooh, click that one off and click that one on. And Dave will be coming in a minute. I sent him the wrong message. He just sent me something on Facebook. And
There he is.
There he is.
I'm
Awesome.
so glad Dave's on the ball. I'll tell you,
Yes.
because this Mike guy, I'm not so sure about him anymore.
Yeah. So for those of us that decided to listen in on me this morning, or this afternoon, trying to go live in the woods, and that didn't work out. It's been one of those days. So as it's 1,000 degrees and our guest is in his car, I'm going to bring him on, and Mr. Dave Spinks with us, and we're going to bring him on, and I'll let Kristie do introductions. Good day, Dave. How are you doing today?
How are you?
Good, guys. How are you guys doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Doing good for this wonderful heat, and I'm sure it's a little warmer down there.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I can imagine. Yeah. So everybody, this is David Spinks. He is retired Air Force. He is retired federal law enforcement. He is an author, a paranormal investigator, speaker, jack of all trades, right?
Yeah, I try to be. I mean, yeah, it is what it is, you know.
Hey, I like that. You just have to kind of go with the flow, right?
That's right.
Do what you do. That's awesome. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Yes.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
That's awesome. We're very excited. Very excited. We're just going to give a little while and just kind of chat until some people come on. How is the weather down there? Which state are you in right now?
I'm in West Virginia.
How is it? How's the weather?
Right now it's like 82 degrees still.
Oh, that's it? Oh, wow.
Like 40-50% humidity.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it bad. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're hotter than you. Western New York is actually beating out the South. I can't believe
Where are you guys
at? Well, we're in Western New York. Mike's in the Rochester area and I'm in the Buffalo area. So we're still a good distance away from each other, but we don't ever get the weather like we've been having, you know. I mean, it got up to like 95 degrees and it's supposed to be that way all week. That's really unusual.
Well,
very
I'm up
much
in the mountains,
welcomed,
so, that's probably why. I'm in pretty high mountains. That's probably why it's a little bit cooler here than there. But
gotcha.
If you drive like 30-40 minutes from here, it's like 15 degrees hotter. So, you know, yeah, so, you know, the mountains stay a little bit cooler than everywhere else, but.
Oh, that's good. Well, at least it's a break, right? But I'll take it because the winters we get over here can be kind of brutal. So we take the warm weather where we can get it.
I've been where you guys are up there. It's brutal in the winter up there, man.
It's crazy, isn't it? And the cold isn't even the worst part. It's the snow and just the unpredictable. Like when we were young, you could count on the seasons being what they were supposed to be. You know, by a certain month or week in the month, you knew when you were going to start counting on the snow. And, you know, over the years, it's just totally changed. It's like everything is slowly overlapping where it's just going to revolve into this next phase of things almost. It's really weird.
Yeah, it seems like the winter is moving farther down, and the summer is staying like into October even. And over the last few years, it's really bizarre how the weather's just like it's changing. You know, it's just the planet's changing, and it always does this. And I don't think it's due to global warming. I think the planet goes through all kinds of different phases. So
why do you think that?
Well, because it's on record, you know, that the planet has a lot of hot stages and a lot of cooled off stages, and you know, even ice ages. So the planet's constantly changing. The poles are shifting. The pole's shifting right now. I mean, it's not even in at the true North Pole like it used to be. It's moved how many, I forget, miles now,
right,
from what it used to be. So, you know, it's an ever changing planet, man.
Well, I would agree with you, to be honest with you. I would agree with you. I think that, you know, there are things that happen, cycles that have to take place, natural progression or regression. But I mean, and I'm not saying that, you know, what we've done to the environment and what we do hasn't helped to affect it in some way. But I agree with you. I think everything goes through different processes. So
they did a study during COVID, and they said how we have the hole in the lower atmosphere and all that. They said it's pretty much sealed up now because so many people weren't driving, creating carbon monoxide gases. They said it's sealed up.
Really?
Yeah, it was a NASA study too. Wow. I saw something on. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Huh. I'll have to look into that. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Maybe we should take I'm going to get myself in trouble, like national breaks or something a couple of times a year to preserve. I'm going to get a whole bunch of emails, people saying, what the hell is wrong with you? You're crazy.
Hey, we're all a little bit crazy.
Oh, no, I'm beyond a little bit.
Yeah.
I can openly admit that. I'm too far gone to even, I tip the scales.
I hear you.
Oh gosh.
Interesting.
What is interesting?
Oh,
Mike's own world over there usually. So we just gotta go.
StreamYard's letting us do 3 different posts at one time, and I'm like, why can't things click off tonight? So for those of you folks that are tuning in, we have Mr. Dave Spinks with us tonight, a paranormal and cryptid investigator, former military and law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and all-around TV personality lately, and documentary and author. So
you've been on quite a few shows, sir.
Yes. So tell us about some of the shows that you've been on. Quite a few. Trying to keep track of you, on your IMDb page and your personal Facebook and your personal website.
Yeah, they don't even have them all on IMDb yet. I mean, I'm still filming more as we speak. So
good for you.
I'm a regular on Unexplained now. Season 2, I'll be coming up on that. They just are getting ready to start airing the rest of. It's really weird how they did it. They kept new episodes on under season 1, and then when COVID hit, they split it up. So season 2 will start airing, I think, next Saturday. So
good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's not why I do what I do, though. I mean, that's just a bonus, and gives you the ability to get out there and talk more about what you do for real. Yeah. And TV, like I always say on all these shows, TV is a double-edged sword for the fields, all the fields. It's good for the publicity of it and getting it more in the open to talk about. But when it comes to some of these reality ghost hunting shows and other shows, a lot of that stuff I try to tell folks, it's for entertainment. It's scripted. Now, I do a lot of the one-offs. I do a one-offs. Those are not scripted. Those are people telling their stories, sharing their experiences and stuff like that. I've turned down my own reality show several times because I don't like the aspect that a lot of it's scripted and they want you to do things a certain way. No, that's not the real paranormal. That is not the real paranormal. Let me tell you.
I can't shake my head hard enough right now.
So,
you're absolutely right.
It's good for the field, but it's also bad for the field because you have all these groups and these people that only do this stuff because they want to get on TV. They don't do it because they have a passion. They don't do it because they feel they're called to it. They do it because they think they're going to get famous and get on TV. And that's just not how it works, folks. I mean, it's really not.
No, you're absolutely right. I know. And it's hard because there was somebody not too long ago. I forget what the post was. It was on Facebook, and it was something about the episode of Destination Fear that I was on. And I think I shared something with, the group with Chelsea and Dakota and Alex and Tanner. And somebody got on there and made a comment about how it was scripted and how it's not real. And so I got on there right away and I responded and said, well, I can tell you I was on, the Statler episode in the season 1. And I promise you it was not. I sat down and I interviewed and it was completely genuine. And you know how it goes. You only get, you film this much, but you only ended up, only this much gets on there. Exactly.
Yeah,
so
I said
there was no script.
Yeah, and what people don't understand too is they can change your wording around. They can the first show I was on the Bigfoot show I was on, Terror in the Woods. I was really upset because they added some things to my episode that never happened, and they changed some stuff, the order of things, how it happened. So when I was going back in those days, a couple of years ago when that first came out, when I was speaking at conferences and stuff, I told everybody, remember this part? And they're like, yeah. So that never happened. And I said, remember this part? I said, yeah, that, people, yeah. I said, that never happened either. I said, that's the reality of some of these what these TV people will do. They think they need to add to the story or move it around, change it around to make it more scary or more entertaining. And I was really pissed when they did that. I said, if you want the real story, read my book, because that's where they contacted me. They read my books and they say, oh, can you come and tell this story or this experience on this show? And I said, sure. Not knowing that they were going to move stuff around and change stuff around. They also did a little bit of that on the Paranormal 911 show I was on. They didn't do it in the right order that things happen and stuff like that. So,
really?
And then at the very end, they added the part where, he's in the jail cell and all that. And at the very end, and he's like, no, I'm not going yet. And I mean, now I heard that with my own ears, but they added this whole little scene that, as a dramatic thing. And they took what I heard with my ears as a disembodied voice and made this whole scene out of it. So, it sucked, but it is what it is.
Right.
Like I said, if you want to read the real experiences I had, just read the book, and that's 100% how it happened, in the order it happened, and everything like that.
That's
great.
great.
We'll come back around to the books in a minute there. So Dave, how did you get involved in the paranormal and the cryptid? And we have folks, now that are officially coming in a quarter after. It's usually where everybody starts popping in. So what got you your start?
Well, it was a Bigfoot experience that me and my grandfather had in 1983 here on the Gauley River, about 5 miles from where I'm at right now. We were fishing, one of our favorite spots. My mom and dad were divorced when I was a little guy, so my stepdad was in the Air Force, and we were stationed down in New Mexico, and I would always come home in the summers to spend time with my dad and both sets of grandparents and the rest of my family. So every summer, me and my grandfather would go to the Gauley River and fish at one of our favorite locations, and we had this profound experience with a Bigfoot, man, and it really changed my life, and it set me on the course that I'm on now. This thing was across the other side of the river. All of a sudden, these big rocks that a man couldn't get his arms around came flying at us. The first one, we didn't see where it came from. It just made this huge splash. We jumped up, and tried to figure out what the hell just caused that splash. But we saw nothing. And then a few minutes later, after we got settled back down, after we tried to figure it out and couldn't.
Somebody's speakers.
What?
What?
I know. Mike's hearing things. Mike's having his own experience right now.
Then the second rock came after we had got set down and relaxed again, and I heard the noise of something coming through the tree limbs, and out of my peripheral on my left side is when I saw this huge rock come flying up through the trees from the other side of the river and come down and land in the river with a humongous splash. Really? Didn't see what threw it at the time, but we were like, what in the frig? So my grandfather, who was a preacher for 40 years, Baptist minister, after World War II, he was not scared of anything. This man stormed the beaches at Normandy and seen it all. He was a medic in World War II, so you know what he saw and you know what he went through. He's thinking in his mind there's some people over on the other side of the river messing with us. So he hollers out, you hoodlums knocking off or I'm going to shoot. And by this time he had already ran back to the tent and come back with his little, his shotgun, just a single shot squirrel gun, just for, he carried one of those everywhere we went when we were fishing for snakes and so forth, So about the time he got done saying that, you hear the most god-awful howling, screaming noise coming from the other side of the river. And it scared me to death. I'm 13 years old, scared to, I've never heard anything. And I've been hunting and fishing in the woods my entire life since I was a little guy. Wow. And so he cracks off a shot over there. And we don't see, up until this point, we haven't seen anything yet, right? So he cracks off a shot. You hear another god-awful roar over there. And then he yelled, and I'm condensing this down, by the way, this whole story, because a lot of stuff happened. He screams at me, "Get to the truck, boy." So I run to the truck, and I'm peeking around. I'm down behind the tire, peeking around the front of the bumper, looking in that direction. And as I'm watching, I start seeing the trees over there. I mean, I'm talking 40, 50, 60-foot trees start shaking. And something just raising all kind of hell over there. Screaming and hollering. And Grandpa, I don't even know how many shots. He cracked off 3 or 4, maybe 5, 6 shots over there. And even if he hit something, it wasn't going to hurt it because it was like 65, 70 yards over there to the other side of the river. And as I'm watching these trees they're shaking and like something's just tearing the woods down. And then it starts moving through the woods, shaking and tearing the trees down. And there's a little clearing there. And then that's when I saw it. It was this huge ape-like creature covered in hair, walking like a man. And I only saw it from about the waist up. And it had a little bitty head, no shoulders, and it was twice as wide as my grandfather. My grandfather was a big man, 6'4", 275 pounds. It's twice as wide as him. And I guess that's when he saw it too, because he came running and he grabbed me with one arm, opened the truck door, and slung me through the driver's side, door. And the only thing that stopped me was the passenger side door. I would have went right through the truck. He jumped in and he said, "That's not of God, son. We're getting out of here." So he jams the thing and peels out, and he's bottoming out the truck. And I've got my head buried in my hands like this. I was like, man, he's going to break the truck down and we're going to die. This thing's going to kill us, And it's about a 2 or 3 mile trek up out of those woods onto the hard road, onto the regular road. So he's just bottoming and beating the truck to death. We get up there. He doesn't say anything. He drives around for about a half an hour. And then he finally pulls off the side of the road. And we left everything. We left our gear, our fishing stuff, everything. And he says, "We better not tell anyone about this, son. They're going to think we're crazy." So we kind of made a promise never to talk about it. Well, a few years ago, my grandfather died. And, here I am after I retired from law enforcement and everything. I started going public with all my cases and writing books about it and all this stuff. But I never talked about what started me. The real thing that started me in this was my Bigfoot experience. And because I made that promise to him. Well, once he died, I said, well, I upheld my promise. And he was a preacher, so you can imagine if we would have told people, he probably would have lost his parishioners and stuff,
Right, right.
So I decided, I'm going to come out with this story. So I called my uncle. And I told him the whole story, and I said, I just wanted someone in the family to know before I go public with this. And he goes, "Oh, you're talking about that time you and Papa saw the monkey man in the woods." And I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "He told you?" And he's like, "Yeah." He said about 25 years ago, he came to me and he told me the whole story. And he said, in case something happens to me, I want someone other than, someone else to know about it. What me and Dave saw that day. So here I kept it secret all these years, and my uncle knew all about it and was like, "Oh yeah." And then I found out some other family members had some sightings of those Bigfoots in the same area through my uncle that I never heard these stories either. So it was very profound and and it kind of peed me off, but I upheld my promise, but I understand why he told my uncles about it. So.
He was looking out for you. He had your back on that one because he knew that you would want to carry that on.
Mm-hmm. So, that's what started me, and it scared the hell out of me. I didn't go in the woods for 7, 8 years after that. Then I, it took me a little time to start going back to the regular camping grounds, and I had to have a lot of people around me and stuff like that, but. Right. But then I'll go into military and law enforcement and stuff, and you start getting your training kicks in, and you're not scared of anything anymore. But, I used to have dreams about that thing screaming, and when I was a kid growing up, and I would wake up in cold sweats. It really messed me up for a while, because once you hear that, there's no other sound like it. And
describe that. What did it sound like?
It's just this real deep, guttural howling noise. And when it happens, and of course you can imagine, we're in a canyon right down the road from where I'm at right now. We're in a canyon that's deep, okay? And when that thing hollered, it just echoed like you wouldn't believe. and you could feel it in your gut. I mean, you know, have you ever been to a rock concert or a concert where the bass is heavy? You feel that in your body. That's what you felt when this thing roared and freaking howled and screamed. And I mean, it still sends shivers down my spine. I get cold bumps when I think about it to this day. But I also go out and look for these things now, you know, and have been for many years since then. But I've never heard that sound in the woods again, and I don't really want to. But I've heard other things like woodknocks, and I've heard far off howls and screams that are not of anything that I can identify either. And of course, people send me recordings they've got all the time and stuff like that as well. So, you know, it was something that really profoundly affected my life and sent me on the course where I'm at today, really. Trying to find answers. To me, some of man's greatest questions, there's 3 of them to me. Are we alone in the universe? Are there unknown creatures walking among us? And what happens to us when we die? Those are 3 of man's greatest unanswered questions without 100% proof right now. I mean, based off your faith system, you might know for yourself personally, but you know, until we actually have more proof to show the world, yeah, these things are real, they do exist. And you know, you'll have these questions all the time. Why isn't there a Bigfoot, you know, found yet? Why aren't there bodies? Well, there probably is, but it's been covered up many times by higher ups and whatnot. And we don't even know what these things are. They could be ETs, they could be interdimensional creatures, they could be anything. It could be a ghost of a long extinct ape species. We don't know. So, but here's the kicker is the Native Americans have talked about them for thousands of years. There's verified cave art that's thousands of years old of drawings of these things. And they find new creatures on this planet almost daily. The giant squid, prime example, was thought to be a myth. It's not. It's real. It's a real creature. The mountain gorilla was only discovered in the 50s, you know, not very long ago. There was a whole new species of orangutan discovered in Sumatra in 2017 that was virtually right around people, and they didn't know it. So, you know, you got to take all these things into account when you're an investigator and a researcher. It's very important because they find new species almost daily.
Yeah, I agree. Wow, that's amazing. Paranormal is paranormal. Some people wouldn't classify Bigfoot as paranormal. So how did you, because to me, they all kind of still fit in the same category. We can't prove, like me as a medium, I can say, I know what I'm getting. Whether or not your technology backs me up is a different story, but it doesn't matter because I know how I'm connecting, but I can't prove it other than with the technology. So how do you go from Bigfoot to paranormal as in ghosts and haunting?
Well,
and
that's the thing.
Like that?
Well, a few years after my Bigfoot experience, I had another profound experience with my other grandfather, believe it or not, which was very crazy. So he was also a World War II veteran, and he smoked like a freight train, man. The old Camel non-filter cigarettes. Ooh. And when he was in the military in World War II, he was in Iceland for a while, and he got pneumonia and he had collapsed lungs. So he had all those problems. And then he was he's also in the coal mines and everything. So he got partial black lungs. So his lungs were a mess, and he still smoked those Camel non-filter cigarettes. Well, it got to the point where he only had a quarter of one lung left, you know, and they put a trach in him for oxygen, and he would smoke freaking cigarettes through that trach hole. He just didn't care, right?
I've heard of people who do that, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I don't, you know, we all got to die sometime. That, you know, he was just that kind of, you know, that kind of attitude. And so we knew it wouldn't be long and he would no longer be with us. Well, I was visiting my dad's house, visiting my dad in the summer, a few years after the Bigfoot thing. And in the middle of the night, I don't know what time it was, probably 3, 4 in the morning, something like that. I had this weird dream, and I woke up and I sat straight up in the bed. And there's my mom's dad standing in my dad's house, which there's no reason, you know, he would ever be there. Clear as me and you right now. He wasn't see-through, wasn't anything. I mean, solid. Wow. And he looked really good. And I said, "What are you doing here, Papa?" That's how real it was to me. I thought he was standing in the room, and he didn't say anything. He just smiled, and then he just dissipated right in front of me. And I was like, man, that was a freaking weird dream. And I went back to sleep. So the next morning I woke up and this was on my mind, you know, and I'm like, I got to call up there and check on him. Well, I called up there and my uncle from out of state answered the phone. And I said, what are you doing there? He goes, no one called you yet, Dave? I said, no. Why? He said, Grandpa died last night and we're coming in for the funeral. So I was like, what the frick? And I didn't say anything about this dream at this point. Well, we went through the funeral and everything, you know. About 6 months later, we were all up at Grandma's house visiting her, a bunch of the family and stuff, and eating dinner and hanging out. And this was on my mind. And I said, I'm going to tell everyone about this dream. And they're going to think I'm nuts, but I'm telling it. So we're at the dinner table, and I just came out with it. And all of a sudden, several members of the family, their faces all went funny, and they all had the same exact dream the same night he died. So I knew right then and there that he came to say goodbye to us before he went to wherever he was going.
Yeah.
So that was another profound experience I had that set me on the course that I am in today. And as far as like your question, going back to your question, how do you correlate the two? I think a lot of these things are interrelated in one way or another. And as an investigator, we have to think outside the box. You can't see things paranormally through a tube or through a, you know, it's so broad. We don't know enough. There's so many things we don't understand about our universe and our general surroundings. You know, I think spirits are around us all the time. That's my personal opinion. For what reason, I don't know. Could be many different reasons, but there's just a lot we don't understand. And, you know, I'll give you a prime example. A lot of these cases that I work, okay, we'll take Bigfoot and UFOs, okay, for one example. Okay. So it wasn't very long ago, you couldn't say Bigfoot and UFOs in the same sentence because you were either a Bigfoot guy or a UFO guy. And the same thing with Bigfoot and hauntings, you know, same similar situation. You would be, I mean, you would have got ran out of the room, you know what I'm saying? So, but over the years, many of us people that are investigating, we have come to notice that when there's a rash of Bigfoot sightings, there's also a rash of strange lights and strange craft being seen in the skies around the same time frames, and vice versa. So as an investigator and a researcher, you have to take a hard look at that and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? You know, what is the correlation? Why are people seeing Bigfoot and strange lights in the sky around the same time, right? So you have to look into these things. And now there's people that are delving back into old Bigfoot sighting cases and noticing, sure enough, in a lot of these cases, many eyewitnesses had seen strange lights in the sky or vice versa at the same time. So what are we getting into here? You know, now another example on the haunting side, we'll take UFOs and hauntings and put those together. In a lot of cases,
interesting.
A lot of people have reported that are experiencing paranormal activity in their homes. They have reported also having these vivid dreams of alien gray type creatures and them floating out, you know, right through the walls in their house and all kinds of stuff. And they're also experiencing poltergeist like activity, seeing shadow figures and everything else. So you got to kind of look at all this and say, is it, you know, what's the deal here? What's going on here? Are these things, there's some interrelation going on in all aspects of this stuff. So
is that how you got tied in with the Flatwoods Monster and Mothman and that kind of stuff?
Well, no, I got tied in with the Flatwoods Monster because I grew up right here. I was born right down the road from where the Flatwoods Monster, and I grew up hearing how scared my mom's first cousins, they all went to school with the boys that had the sighting. I grew up hearing them talk about it when I was a little kid, you know, and how scared they were to get off the school bus and everything. The whole area was like terrified, you know, of what went on because many, many witnesses seen these craft in the sky that night. You know, it was all over the place, all up and down the East Coast. And there was more than one craft seen here in West Virginia. It was like 7 reported. So, and I mean, and there was multiple sightings. People think it was just one sighting. It wasn't. There was multiple sightings of this creature around the state.
What year was that again?
1952.
Okay. So that I just got back from Lake George and Whitehall with Seth and Steve and those guys, and You know, I know 76 that there was the rash of UFOs along with the Bigfoot sightings at that time, you know, talking to those guys. And it's something I kind of put separate, but after spending a week again with those guys, it came back up again. You know, it's always separate. So,
yeah, I mean, you know, Seth, I was a local and Seth knew what I did and he wanted me to be the, you know, the local guy in the movie. And it was fun doing it and all that. And, you know, got to share a little bit about what I know about the Flatwoods Monster and how my family was affected by it in some aspects. And, you know, it's a fascinating case. It was worldwide news, you know, before Mothman and all that stuff. But it was really weird how it just got swept under the rug, you know, and it was virtually almost a lost story and a lost thing for many years. And then it was the guy named Frashino. He started doing a lot of research on it, and he wrote some really good book about it. And, you know, and it kind of resurrected the whole thing.
Wow. And, you know, it's interesting because I have, I've not had the experience myself, but I actually have a couple of people who have worked with me in the past, mentored with me, and they actually have had experiences with extraterrestrial beings in their rooms. These are very gifted people. And so the question has come up in their sessions with me, is there a correlation or is this just coincidence? Because I'm sure, I mean, as human beings, I believe we all have this sixth sense. We all have the ability, at least to connect with our intuition, you know, our psychic ability. So, you know, is it because we have that, that deeper spiritual part to us, you know, that other piece to the puzzle, you know, our soul, that they're able to connect these other, from these other dimensions, these other beings? Or is it really just coincidence? Because there's plenty of human beings that walk around that don't acknowledge or aren't connected the way they could or should be, you know, so, and they have had their own experiences, but yet they're not gifted, or they wouldn't call themselves gifted. So it's very interesting that you bring that up and then correlate it with paranormal, because I, you know, wondered that myself, having dealt with people, and these are very credible people, you know,
absolutely.
And these experiences in their own homes, in their own bedrooms, you know, out of nowhere. They didn't ask for it. They weren't looking for it. It happened to them. So very interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've interviewed, thousands over the years. And, I mean, I'm talking doctors, lawyers, many different police officers, from sheriffs to state troopers to, you know, homicide detectives, you name it. I've interviewed them. They've contacted me. And these are people that have something to lose by sharing these stories in the public, you know. During a few years ago here in West Virginia, we had what they called the 1,000-year flood, where we had 53 out of 55 counties were natural disasters, you know, from this massive flood we had here. And there was a group of 5 state troopers on flood duty. They had a road blocked off, and they were just hanging out, keeping people out of the area. It was the middle of the night, and it was a full moon. And they heard a big racket over in the woods. You know, they're on a desolate 2-lane country road, had it blocked off, and they're surrounded by woods. And they hear something tromping, running through the woods, and it was big. And they all looked over in the woods, and they saw a large man-like creature, 7 to 8 feet tall, and they all drew their guns. And that thing, they said that the thing let out a howl like they never heard, just like I was talking about. And they said, "Screw this," and they all jumped in their cruisers and left.
I'll bet they did.
Now, you know,
there's nothing wrong with that.
And they went on record with me, and it's in my West Virginia Bigfoot book. Went on record, gave me their names, ranks, everything. And for them to say that, that's very, very compelling, because they have a lot to lose. You know, their credibility is on the line. And those are some of the most credible people. You know, they testify in a court of law on a daily basis. And for them to come on record and say that, you know, it was a real deal. They really experienced it. And I mean, these guys, the only people that are more highly armed than the state troopers of West Virginia is the National Guard. I mean, these guys got everything in their vehicles. I mean, I'm talking ARs and everything else. And they took off, all 5 of them, and you know, getting out of there real quick. And so, you know, that's just one example of hundreds of. I've got prosecuting attorneys that have shared their stories with me. You name it. I mean, and if you see the news and everything else, you've got astronauts coming out talking about They know that there's freaking intelligent life out there. They've seen it firsthand. You know, you've got to pay attention to that stuff. You know, the mainstream governments, they don't want us to know what's really out there. And we have been brainwashed so many generation after generation to believe one specific way because they can control you and manipulate us through fear. You know, the church, the mainstream church has changed things, and that's in many religions. They use fear to control the masses, because if you don't do this a certain way, you're going to burn in hell. And they don't want us to be enlightened and know the real deal of the universe. And that's my personal opinion. Now, I believe in God. I'm you know, I was raised Baptist. I know there's a higher being that's, you know, all about the good, but there's a lot more to it than we've been told. And some things have been changed, I think, in order to make money, number one, and to scare the bejesus out of you, to control you, you know. So that's just my personal opinion. So take it or leave it.
Follow the money. Follow the money. It's what we always say.
Well, that's just in control. I mean, what's bigger than money? You know, control. Control is money. Money is control.
Our history has been manipulated like you wouldn't believe. I mean, people don't even talk about all the giant skeletons that have been found all over the world. We have a ton of them right here in my state of West Virginia that have been found. And almost immediately when these skeletons were unearthed, a group of government people would come in from the Smithsonian and swoop these things up, and you'd never hear nothing about it.
Well.
And I'm talking, you know, if you follow the Bible, it talks about the Nephilim, the offspring of angels and women, human women, and they were vile giants that roamed the earth, and they were very disgusting, eating people and everything else. And there's giant skeletons that have been found all over the world. Now, take it for what it's worth. It's a known fact. I've gotten hundreds of old newspaper articles of these skeletons being unearthed with pictures and everything. So it's our history has been changed so much that people would just be like, whoa, you know.
Well, as my husband always says, you know, the history is written by the winners of the wars. I mean, honestly, who's going to pay attention to who, or what are we going to pay attention to, right? Or who are we going to pay attention to?
Right.
And the articles you have are all pre-internet, correct?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, that's the big thing, you know, I've noticed is that, you know, what are we going to grab from point A to point B, you know, nothing after what we can, the artificial AI that we can change everything now.
Oh,
When your grandfather said it was not of this earth or not of God.
Not of God.
Yeah. When you saw it, the face, did it look just
never
more
saw
human,
the face.
Never saw the face, just that.
Never saw the face. Yep. Okay. Just saw it from a back, like quarter angle. It was quartering away, up and away from us. But, you know, I saw the hair. It was dark, really dark black in color, and had some brownish in it, and it was massive. You could see the muscles on this thing. It was unreal, man.
Did you get a sense of foreboding or evilness or of nature? You know, just a large predator.
More like it was pissed that we were there and it wanted us gone. But, you know, like I said, after he cracked some shots off, it seemed to meander its way out of there, raising hell all the way out of there. But it scared me to death. I think it felt more like it was a warning. Maybe because we caught a bunch of fish, man. We cooked them up. We were eating, having a great time. Sitting there, you know, just fat and like, you know, we ate too much. And all of a sudden, these rocks start, you know, these huge boulders, you know, come flying out. And I mean, the splashes were so big, it rained down water, you know. So it was, you know, it was
let
just,
you know that you overstayed your welcome.
The more I thought about it over the years, it was more like a warning, like get the hell out of my area or something. But you know, I mean, I've lived right down the road. I'm 5 miles away from where it happened to this day. And, you know, I've been in those woods many times looking for tracks, looking for everything. I haven't seen anything, but I have heard some weird wood knocking and some stuff going on. You know, sometimes I'll call blast that same sounds that have been recorded and try to get a response, you know, but I have heard some weird stuff coming back at me, but nothing like that day, you know, since. But I know what I saw was real. And it was not freaking it was no joke. It would crush a man like it was nothing. I mean, this thing was massive.
And how close are you to the Chestnut Ridge? I know that West Virginia kind of comes down and that right on the border there. And are you guys with a couple hours or?
I'm about 2.5, maybe 3, depending on traffic from Chestnut Ridge. It comes right down into Morgantown. I get a ton of reports from that whole area on the border of Pennsylvania and West Virginia. And I've done a lot of stuff with Eric Altman up there, done stuff with him and whatnot. And, we swap information back and forth sometimes. And, the whole area is active. I mean, the whole state of West Virginia, you gotta remember where I live is very rural. I mean, it's very rural. I mean, I live right on the edge of the Monongahela National Forest, and there's 22 counties that border this one national forest. So it's massive, and it's so rugged in there that hardly any people live out in there. And there's probably hasn't been people out there ever, if not even maybe 100 years, Native Americans or more, many years ago, because it's just too rugged. I mean, it's full of black bear, there's mountain lions out there and everything else, but it's a very rugged area, and that seems to be a hot spot here in West Virginia, right there. And then up on that corridor of Chestnut Ridge area is another hot spot. I think it may be where they traverse back and forth, looking for food and whatnot.
Now, do you have a lot of paranormal there into the woods?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, this West Virginia is full of everything, guys. I mean, we've got UFO stuff out. At one time in the '60s, West Virginia was considered the UFO capital of the world. I don't know if you know that, but
no, I did not know that.
And here's a little tidbit of information you might like. So, I wrote a book called West Virginia UFOs, right? Well, after the Flatwoods Monster incident in 1952, just a few short years later, all of a sudden we have a government-funded project with the largest movable steerable radio telescope in the world, sets right here in Green Bank, West Virginia. And the very beginnings of SETI was formed right here in West Virginia. If you don't know what SETI is, it's a search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The main headquarters is in Berkeley, California now. Frank, the Drake equation, if you've ever heard of that, that was the Drake equation. Is Frank Drake? He came up with an equation to show how many possible planets are in the Goldilocks zone, and his original equation has been redone now by this really whiz guy, mathematician, and it's even more profound than Drake's equation, showing that it's essentially there's enough planets in the known universe that would equate to the grains of sand on a beach for planets to be in the Goldilocks zone to support habitable life. That's basically what the Drake equation was, and that's where him and Carl Sagan formed SETI right here in West Virginia at the Green Bank Observatory over in Green Bank, West Virginia. So right now, today, they are actively searching for ET here in West Virginia at the Green Bank telescopes. A guy named, everybody knows who Stephen Hawking is, right? You guys know who he is. So him and several Frank Drake and several other people, real smart people, along with this guy named Yuri Milner, who's a Russian billionaire, came in because when Obama came in, he cut a lot of government funding, and the Green Bank was one of them. So this Russian billionaire came in, and he self-funded this $10 million to keep the search going, and they came up with this project called Breakthrough Listen, which they actively have to devote a certain amount of time at the telescope to search for signals of ET. So that's an ongoing thing here in West Virginia. So to me, it's no coincidence that right after the Flatwoods Monster incident and during all the Mothman sightings, if you're familiar with the Mothman, it wasn't just this creature known as Mothman. There was literally thousands of UFO sightings during that whole time. It was so profound that people would come home from work, eat dinner, and they'd go park on the road and watch the lights in the sky.
Really?
So during all this time, a government-funded project was set right here in West Virginia looking actively for ET. So a lot of people don't even know that, Wow. So it's very profound, and it's no coincidence to me that is an ongoing project right here in the Mountain State to this day.
So how did you get pulled into the UFO?
Just to say I've seen some things. I grew I
That's
grew
it,
up.
huh? Right there.
Yeah, I grew up I grew up on an Air Force base. I was an Air Force brat, and then I was in the Air Force for 8 years myself. So I've seen a lot of things that normal people would not see, and and heard a lot of firsthand accounts. Let's just say.
Gotcha.
So, and I don't know for a fact, but I've had some weird things that happened to me in my life that I can't really explain it. Even to this point, I don't know. Everybody's telling me go get regressed, and I'm like, nah, not yet. I'm not ready for that, because it's a scary thing. So, but this whole state is got a lot of stuff. We've got the whole gambit. We've got numerous freaking cryptid creatures. We've got UFOs galore, and of course, many famous haunted locations.
Right.
Yeah. We
have a couple of questions. Yeah.
Go ahead. We're on this.
Listen, over there, peanut gallery. Actually, we have a couple of questions for you. So I'm going to put this up here so that we can see it. So when people die and the house they live in goes through some construction or changes, it's known that their spirits don't like that. Is this because they don't recognize their own home anymore and they can get confused? What do you think about that? What's your opinion on that?
Oh yeah, that's a very wide phenomena. It's one of the main things that we look for a lot of times when people are experiencing paranormal activity. In a lot of these cases, new homeowners move in, they want to remodel and do this, that, and the other. And if there is a spirit there that is there for whatever reason, that's their home, they're still staying there for whatever reason, it seems to lend the fact that in a lot of cases that remodeling does cause paranormal activity to occur.
Yeah, I agree. And then she has one more question for you too. Would you ever want to catch Bigfoot if you had the chance?
Of course. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people, I get the question, would you shoot one? Only if it was trying to kill me and I had to defend myself. To me, I would never shoot anything like that, or, unless I knew it was going to kill me or I had to defend myself. But, of course, I mean, who wouldn't want to discover a new unknown creature and have 100% proof,
Right.
Because I know what I saw was real. It affected me profoundly. And I'd love to have the chance to capture it on film or something that I could show other people. Hey, look at this, Sure. And I think a lot of pictures and other things that are out there are probably genuine. But here's the thing, whether it's ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, there's always going to be someone that says, "Oh no, that's CGI nowadays." They can do anything. Barring you sitting there and you capture a ghost, walk up to your table and sit down and have a conversation with you, and then you can prove that it's Joe Blow who died in 1967. Of this, there's always going to be naysayers. Unfortunately, that's the nature of this business. The nature of what we do. All you can do, it's like religion and politics. You're not going to change anyone's mind. They have to have their own experience for that to change. I don't try to change people's minds. I just present what I get and what I do, and take it and do what you want with it. I really don't care. For me, it's, I know why I do it, and I like to share what I do with folks. If they don't like it, so be it. I don't really care. Don't watch it. Don't check it out. I don't care.
Right. Right. Well, we kind of have to have, we have to some degree at least, adapt that kind of attitude, not even in an egotistical kind of a way, but just to be able to, because we have to be able to recognize that no matter what we're looking into or what our gifts are, what our journey is, we have our own responsibilities with our gifts, or when we feel like you mentioned earlier, I loved it, the calling that we have. We're doing, most of us do this because we have a calling to do this. It's what we're here for. And we have our own responsibilities that come along with that. And so that makes it genuine, but it also means we're not always going to mesh with other people. And I think that gets taken the wrong way, because it's not that what I'm doing is better than what you're doing, or you're doing something wrong. It's because we're all meant to acknowledge and do different things with what on our journey here. to help do what we're supposed to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the flip side of that too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Joe Blow Investigator over here and Joe Blow Investigator over here. This Joe Blow over here captures some phenomenal evidence. So this guy over here gets pissed and jealous. So he attacks this guy and says, "Oh, that's fake. It's 100% fake CGI."
Right.
It's bad for the field. You know what I mean?
It's very bad. No, I totally agree with you. 100%.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why we can't just all acknowledge that we all have our own things to do. It's like having 5 mediums in a room. People don't understand what it truly means to be a medium or to be able to do what we do. And so some of us, we can work real closely together. Some of us, our energies repel, and it has nothing to do with, excuse me, whether we like the person or not. I had a student who I brought out on a couple of public gallery readings to help me out and test his ability. And I liked the guy just fine. The problem was our energies were so strong. It's like 2 A personalities going at it, that if we got too close to each other in a room, we couldn't read together. But as soon as we got far enough apart, like he stood at one end of the table and I stood at the other, we read off each other real well. It was really neat. Some mediums will pick up on an energy in the room, some will not. So I think it's all, we have to just open our minds and realize that it's okay. Just because we're not picking up on something doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it's not happening. You know,
right? And you got to just agree to disagree sometimes.
Right.
I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, now barring, you know, if you can prove something without a shadow of a doubt, yeah, prove it. You know, we as investigators paranormally, you have to debunk things first. If you can debunk it, then it's, you know, it's not paranormal. But if you can't debunk it, then you have to take a hard look and say maybe it's paranormal. You know, this is what we got. We got this, and this. We can't explain it. So where does that leave us? We are all the time. I'm left with more questions than answers in this stuff. So, but the journey getting there is what keeps me going, because it still blows me away to this day when I'm in a location and I know I'm the only guy in there, or it's me and my buddy or one other person. They're standing there right there with me, and I got a recorder going, and I ask a question, and I play it back, and I have a female responding to me that I can back up with factual information. How do you explain that? That's fascinating to me. And I'm just like, wow, you know, how does that even happen? You know, so it just, that's what keeps me going. That's why I do what I do. That's just one example of many, you know. I mean, when you get a true Class A EVP, it's just mind blowing to me. And that, you know, and then you see self-luminous light anomalies. And I'm not talking about orbs. I mean, orbs can be so many different things. I don't even use the word orb because I don't like it. But, you know, there's certain things I'd look for that I would consider a lot more relevant than just your dust orb or your, you know, a bug that's lighting up this big because of the infrared lights are hitting it, you know, or whatever the case may be. So, you know, I mean, some of the stuff I've experienced over the years has just blown me away. Some of it's downright unnerving and scary because on several occasions throughout my investigations, I've been attacked by unseen things. I've had scratches. I had my head cracked open by something one time. This phenomenal, unnerving, crazy stuff. I've seen other people attacked right in front of me when I know there was nothing there, and scratches appeared on them and they were bleeding and all kinds of crazy stuff. I've seen another woman get slapped right in the face, and she was standing there and you heard the smack and everything, and then a red handprint just appeared right on her face, you know. Just some profound things that
what did she say, Ron?
She started crying, screaming, and left. Her and her friend left.
What did she say to the
what'd she say to deserve that?
Well, she didn't say anything. I mean, that shit was unprovoked 100%. But the weird thing was, we were in an area where this man was known, didn't like women. Even when he was alive, he attacked women. And it was said that his spirit lurked in this place. And it was during a public event I was doing, of all things. And everyone's just kind of standing there, and all of a sudden, I mean, I was looking right at her when it happened, and you heard it smack. Her hands were down at her side, and she went, "Oh my God!" And she started screaming, and we're like, you know, we turned all the lights on. We're like, "What happened?" And of course, we had enough light in there, you could see everybody's faces right there. And we watched a giant red handprint appear right on her face. And once we showed her that, we took pictures of it. Her and her friend, man, they were out of there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd be gone.
They were gone. So
that's a bad experience. That's not a good thing when something like that happens.
Yeah, and it's unnerving as well because you realize, man, there's something out there that's strong enough that we can't see that has the ability to punch through to our side and physically do things to you. That's scary stuff right there.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Another question from the audience from Amanda Long. Hello, I love all things paranormal. One thing I have issue with, or one where people go to old jails and popular places like Waverly. How do you feel?
As far as how do I feel?
Yeah, let's see.
You mean like a commercial location?
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like. One thing I have issue with is one where people go to old jails and popular places like Waverly. How do you feel? Probably how you feel about public tours, I'm thinking.
I mean, I think it's fine because if you're a paranormal enthusiast and you're interested in the paranormal, you know, if it's not what you do full time, but you have an interest in it and you want to go to a so-called known haunted location and try to collect some evidence or communicate with spirits for yourself, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If that's what that location is set up to do, you know, and to give people an opportunity. And, you know, if you like spooky things, I mean, there's not much more spookier than an old haunted jail or a Waverly Hills or anything like that. You know, I mean, you know, as long as you're being respectful in how you communicate with spirits, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And now, having sasaid that, I get that question a lot. In old jails and prisons, me being ex-law enforcement, they do not like me there. I have had some very profound negative experiences in old jails and prisons.
Yeah.
If they're going to come at me hard, I go back at them hard because that's what those guys were like in real life and when they were alive. And that's how you have to deal with them. Now, I'm not going to go to an orphanage and start talking to the spirits of children like I would talk to spirits of negative inmates, you know, negative type of spirits that are trying to attack me. I'm going to give it right back to them. So each location's different. You know, you never know what you're going to experience in some of these places, and it can be very dangerous.
Yes.
How do you... Go ahead, Kristie, and then I'll ask mine.
Well, just because we're kind of going into this territory now, so as a medium, you know, even when I do public tours, like at the Statler, and I help out with things like that, you know, people don't realize that mediums have different responsibilities and obligations because of what we do and who we are and how things work for us, as opposed to someone who's just an investigator. And I don't say that to downplay it by any means, but a lot of people, like you said, because I'm an investigator too. I just do other things. But a lot of people become investigators, right? And those funky lights you're talking about. They just decide they're going to pick up some equipment one day and go into a very negative place. And all of a sudden it's a free for all. What do you do? Because we both know, and anyone who's done this before, it's not smart. How do you, or do you do anything, I should say, to protect yourself? What do you do, you know, to make sure nothing follows you home? Because those are very, very big, obvious dangers that people don't realize, you know? So do you do anything like that for yourself, for your team, you know, for your partner, whoever you're with at the time?
Yeah, I've learned the hard way, so to speak, a few times. I did have a hitchhiker one time that really essentially flipped my life upside down for about almost a year. And I didn't realize what was happening. I just had I went through a really nasty divorce and I had all this bad stuff happen. Almost went financially ruined. And then I was like, this light bulb went off and I was like, wait a minute. I just got out of this haunted location that I physically lived in for a month and a half with a team of people, and it was very, very negative. And soon after that, within a couple of weeks, I start my life overnight flipped upside down, and the light bulb finally clicked, and I went and got cleansed by a Catholic priest. I'm not Catholic, but I got a Catholic priest to bless me. I went to a Baptist minister, and I had a shaman clear me. And I kid you not, almost overnight, everything went back to normal. And I knew that
That's amazing, isn't it?
that light bulb went off, and I was like, that's got to be what's going on. And because I was having these crazy dreams of these, like there was surrounded by blackness, and these black arms were coming out trying to grab me every night, and they would get closer every night. And then finally one got a hold of me, and I woke up with a scratch on my arm. And that was during when everything was just going haywire in my life. And that's when the light bulb kicked on. I said, I'm going to get cleansed like today. And I did 3 different styles. And I mean, boom, it was overnight. Things started going back the right way. And I was like, holy crap, I had a freaking attachment, And it was
a parasite going, parasite, not even just an attachment. You had a nasty.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. And I better turn that light on. You guys can't. It's getting dark. But it was nuts, and it was a profound experience. And I didn't think about it, but right after that, it all started one night when I was sitting there and I heard what sounded like a light bulb pop in the house, a pretty loud pop. And I searched the whole house. Every light bulb worked, and then I started smelling a sulfur smell, and I was like, and I didn't do much about it. I should have taken care of it right then and there, but got lackadaisical. But now I protect myself really heavily with several different means, and you can do this by your own belief system with good intentions. You just follow whatever system you use personally in your religious beliefs. As long as it's good intent, you should keep away bad spirits. So. Doesn't always work though.
Good to hear. No, you're right. It doesn't always work. I've had a couple make their way home with me, and we all know, well, those of us who've learned the hard way or who've done it long enough know they're not going to get to you. They're going to go after just like anybody else, right? Just like those guys you deal with in the jail. They can't get to you. They're going to teach you a lesson by getting to someone you love or care about, and that's where it really that they know where to get you, and it's very hard. Been there, done that. So
that's what negative entities look for. You can call them by whatever you want, demons, whatever. There's many different names for them, but they look for little cracks in your auras or your personas. Maybe you have a little drinking problem or a drug problem, or you have some kind of vice. They look for those and they exploit those cracks, and they will get in. And if they can't hurt you, just like you said, Kristie, they will try to go after the people you care about. So you got to take precautions. And you can. I've known people that have picked up attachments from just driving down the road.
Absolutely.
You don't know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, why it's going to happen.
But when you put yourself and you insert yourself into those places, people just go into the game. You got it. And if you're not knowing, but I find too that the most vulnerable people are the ones who are aware they're gifted but don't do anything about it. And so they think, I'm too scared, I don't want to know. Unfortunately, you get to a certain point, knowledge is power, because just like myself, I dealt with it my whole life on my own. But at a certain point, you can't adjust and adapt anymore. For some of us, the door has to swing all the way open, and whether we like it or not. So you have to learn what's going on so you can be prepared and you can have that self-confidence and that foundation, because otherwise you're a sitting duck. And so, it's some people like to kind of shove that down and think they're going to block it. And then every other energy around you knows it's what you're doing and knows you have no control. And so it just makes it worse. And a lot of people don't realize they're like that, but being human beings just makes us vulnerable anyways to that, and so it's a big, and we could talk about that for 10 shows too, just.
Well, it's another thing I've noticed over the years, these negatives or demons, demonics, whatever you want to call them, they don't like when you try to help people that they are manipulating and trying to oppress, and they will come after you and try to stop you ahead of time because they know what you're trying to do, and they will try to reach out and get you before you can get to the people you're trying to help. Yep. So they're very elusive, very they're very manipulative, and they try things. And I've known a lot of friends that that have had serious attacks from these things when even before the phone calls made, hey, I need help. Okay, they set it up, and then all of a sudden they start experiencing stuff at their home and other things, and they have to take precautions right away. So these things are pretty scary at times.
Yeah, you're not kidding. A couple of years ago, I can't believe it's a couple of years ago already. I was leaving to go to work. I was working the afternoon to the evening, and I stepped out onto my back porch. And when you step out on my back porch, you can look onto the driveway in the backyard. And my husband was like hosing something off in the driveway, and he and I are just talking. And I had my bag over my shoulder, and I went to take a step, and it's the top of the porch, step down to leave. And all I know is I took a step. And I went, before I could even go to take this step and move my foot, it felt like my ankle buckled, but it didn't buckle. And it was like I got pushed, but I fell. And I know I didn't buckle, because if my ankle buckled and I fell, I would have crumpled and landed on the steps, like at the bottom of the steps. It happened so fast and so hard. I got pushed off of my porch, and I landed about a foot from the bottom of the porch on my side. And my husband was like, what the hell just happened? Like he didn't even have time to process it. That's how fast it happened. And so, long story short, it hurt. I was in a lot of pain. And so I was like, okay, well, gotta go to work, gotta do whatever. I get to my office, and I go to make the first phone call. It was a phone reading, and I explained to my client what happened and told her I would try to do the reading, but more time was going on, the more I was hurting. So we opted to reschedule, and I ended up canceling my whole night, and I went home. So 2 weeks later, I had her again. We did another phone reading. And the first thing she says to me before we started the reading was, "You scared the hell out of me when you called me the other day." And I said, "Why?" And she says, "Because that happened to my husband, but in our stairs in our house." Turned out she actually had a demonic entity that I had to refer her to see somebody who had to go cleanse her house for her. Well, not cleanse, but expel this thing from her house. And you're absolutely right. That's absolutely what happened. It attacked me, knowing I was going to help her. And that's not the first. That's the most extreme thing I've been through. But there have been other times too. And when people come to me, that's exactly what I tell them. At this point, I now have to take care of myself and protect myself in a different way. And anybody else who's going to help you. So this is what we're going to do. We're not going to give it attention. We're not going to talk about it. We're only going to do what we have to when we have to, and so on and so forth. And yeah, people don't realize it's a big deal. They're like classic abusers. That's what I tell people. These kinds of energies, even if it's not demonic, which not everything is demonic. That happened to was a special case, but the nasty stuff. You're right. They are absolutely like that, because they're going to do everything an abuser is going to do. They're going to isolate you. They're going to wear you down. They're going to isolate you. They're going to break you down until there's nothing left, and it's a shame. Yeah. It can be a scary situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So, wow.
So how does somebody go from being an Air Force veteran and in law enforcement and switching to paranormal and coming out from going from the black and white world to the world of the gray and unknown?
Well, that's the thing, man. I was doing this stuff the whole time I was active duty military and in law enforcement. I just never went public with it because for obvious reasons. People, the way it started working was, a friend of a friend would have something weird going in their house. They'd confide in one of their friends, and they'd say, "Hey, I know a guy that does that." I would get the call, and I would, do residentials and try to help people. Of course, I couldn't come out publicly when I'm in law enforcement and say, well, I'm looking for spirits and investigating hauntings and all that, because they would have sent me to the head shrinker, So, having those experiences as a young man, I was still, even though I was in the Air Force and even though I was in law enforcement, I was still actively researching, investigating things the whole time, So it really was an easy transition when it came to when I retired to say, because I had many friends, I developed many contacts and friends over the years, and they're like, "Dude, you got so many case files, you need to start putting that in books and stuff and come out with what you're doing." So, I said, well, I'll think about it. And then when I retired, I got, I was bored, so to speak, and I said, well, I'll just do this full time and start sharing stuff publicly with some of the things I've done and seen and experienced. And then, I said, well, I noticed, this one guy I'd worked with, he started doing some live stuff on YouTube, and I started doing live stuff on YouTube, investigations. I was like one of the first people to ever do that after him. And, it was pretty cool, and people seemed to really like it, because it's live, and there what you see is what you get. There's no Hollywood BS and all that.
Right.
And, you know,
Right.
that's where I started making my name publicly, and then it just, you know, kind of snowballed from that over the years now. So, you know, it is what it is. I started writing, you know, my first book was in 2017 about the West Virginia Bigfoot experience I had. And I've written in other people's books, contributed to their books as well. And I've got numerous books I'm working on now as well.
Where is the best place for folks to find your books?
Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com, type in Dave Spinks and authors, and you'll see the books that I do have out right now. And my website, you know, is a good place to go to see all my stuff, what conferences I'm speaking and appearing at and stuff like that. Of course, with COVID, I think about 99% of them got canceled so far. So,
Yikes.
but
are you still doing Pennsylvania? Still doing Gettysburg?
Yeah, as far as I know, as long as it's still going, I'll be there. You know, but who knows with this big spike right now, what they're talking about, this big spike of cases and stuff, if they'll cancel it or keep it going or whatever. But if it's, you know, if it happens, I'll be there, you know. So that's a great conference and a really good time. And I've been there every year except for the first year. So I've been there the last two, and this will be year number 4 they had it. So.
And then folks can find you on Facebook as well. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. I got several Facebook pages. Real Supernatural, Dave Spinks, you know, West Virginia Monsters, also Instagram, and I recently started a new TikTok page where I'm putting because it's I put small clips of evidence I've captured, and people are really loving that, man. There's like 100,000 views on one of them right now. So,
I bet.
What are you using for music? What are you using for music for that?
Nothing. It's just straight up. It's straight up evidence clips, except for one.
Really?
Like I did one of a radio show. I was experimenting to see what kind of views, and I slapped some one of those weird musics they give you on there, you know, and it's going like woo woo. So just screwing around, you know. But I thought, hey, that's a cool venue. That is a cool venue to put up some actual evidence clips, short and to the point, you know, and people are seeming to like it. So.
Oh, I'm sure. I laugh. I can't help but laugh just because my 13-year-old still is all over TikTok. So when you said TikTok, I'm going dancing, music.
No, I'm not doing the dance and music thing, man.
Right now, are you kidding?
Yeah, just straight
That's
up.
where he's got the orb problem.
Yeah, no, but you know, just different stuff to spread the word and put some cool clips out there, and I got 2 YouTube channels, Real Supernatural and Society of the Supernatural. And then, of course, tons of Facebook. If you go to my website, you can see all my social media and all that stuff on there.
There's a lot going on.
It's www.davespinksparanormalinvestigator.com.
Yeah.
It's got links to my books. If you want signed books, you have to contact me personally, and I'll mail you.
Oh, all right. I'll let you sign a book for me.
If you want unsigned, you gotta get them off Amazon.
And we'll put those links up a little later this afternoon, this evening, so you guys can find them. Where's your favorite place to investigate?
That's a loaded question, man. Because you never know what you're gonna get on any one of these investigations.
Right.
But I mean, there's so many of them. Of course, I own my own haunted location, Willow's Weep in Indiana. So
what's it called? Willow's Weep?
Yeah, Willow's Weep. Yeah, it was on the very first episode of Unexplained called Evil Places.
Really?
Yeah, I've owned it for a little over 3 years now. But
what's the backstory on that?
Do we have a week? I mean,
okay, give me the.
All right.
Pretend you're on duty. You have to write a report. Give me the
house was built in 1890, built in the shape of a cross by a mason for a mason. Lots of bizarre deaths. One guy was eaten alive by his own hogs, who was a pedophile and had 23 kids, and this whole other story with that. There was a strange. The former owner was attacked many times. Her and her husband sold it to me because I became friends with them after investigating it several times. She called me up one day and said, "I'm done with this house. Do you want it? It's tried to kill me and Bob 2 times now." Blah blah blah. And it's just a very dark, crazy place. Several suicides in the house, several deaths in the house. I'm pretty sure witchcraft was practiced in the house because when she bought it, she bought it for her son to get him a start in life, a cheap house he could fix up. Right. When they started working on this place, they had new laminate flooring on top of the original flooring. It was all hooved up from moisture, so they had to scrape it all out, right? So when they were taking it out, in the corner of one of the rooms, they found this strange pamphlet. And it was put out by the so-called Church of God. But on the front of it, it said, "Is the spirit world real?" It had an upside-down pentagram and a ring of fire on it. And when you flip through this pamphlet, it talks about necromancy, how to summon demons, and all kinds of stuff that you can tell 100% that no Christian organization put this thing out.
It was like a mockery almost.
Yeah, and I've done some research, and that book is still, you can find that pamphlet online. It's still, I don't know if it's still being put out in new versions, but it was put out in 1985. The one I have, and this basically it's a cult that's masquerading as a Christian organization, in my point of view.
So the heyday of all the movies and stuff.
Yeah. So that was put out, that was found in the house. There was also a child's arm bone found under the crawl space in the house, which I have not verified that, but I have, the former owner, she had a maintenance guy that was working on the house during that whole renovation process, and he was under the house checking the pipes, found some weird mounds of dirt, pushed the mound away, and out pops a human bone. He grabs it and says, "Holy crap, that looks human," as he's trying to crawl out of there. He said he was attacked sexually by something unseen, and he freaked out. He got out of there, ran to Brenda, the former owner, gave her the bone, said, "I'm never going under that effing house again." And he had several crazy attacks at that house. His back was broken one time. Numerous investigators have investigated this house, and many have been attacked, and crazy stuff is going on there. But like I said, read the book. There's a book called Willows Weep. The beginning, I wrote about the house and the whole backstory and what is known about the house right now and the deaths. There's a whole time frame of this house that is unaccounted for many decades, because I think the original family was renting it out, so there's no records of what all went there and who lived there. So, but I've got a lot of accounts of paranormal stuff going on. The last guy that lived in the house, he shot himself in the head. The chair that's in the house now is said to be his by the former owner, with him still has supposedly his blood on it. I haven't verified if it's human blood yet, but that's coming real soon. We'll see. We had one group going there that said they tested it and it wasn't blood, but until I see it with my own eyes, I'll have to test it myself. So I know it has been tested with luminol and did react. So years ago. So and there's even some modern deaths associated with this house of investigators that have been in there and who have recently died. I can't say that the house caused that, but it's awful coincidental when there's more than one and there's some bizarre stuff going on there.
So you didn't want a beach house, you wanted that.
Right. So
doing what I get
that's a whole different.
I don't live there, guys. I mean,
what compelled you to buy it?
Obviously, doing what I do, and the opportunity presented itself. I had to think it over for a good week before, because I know how dark this place is.
I was going to say, there's a big difference between wanting a place to investigate and research versus, there's true evil going on there. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Well, that was my whole premise behind buying it, was I wanted to have a place to research and investigate the paranormal. My own place that I can do whatever I want in. I can set up many different types of experiments and try to verify more evidence of paranormal activity. What better of a place to have it,
it's a controlled environment. I got you what you're saying.
Yep.
Right.
There's no
Who's
power in the
supposed to be there?
house. All the power's disconnected. Everything's off in the house. So that way, if you're getting readings on equipment, it's true readings. There's no interference going on there, you know.
Gotcha.
So, and I had a whole project lined up for this year, but due to COVID, it got messed up. But the project was going to be the second book. It was going to be called Willow's Weeping Investigations, where I was going to have around 50 different teams come in and do a controlled set of experiments. Everybody would do the same thing around the same time each time a group comes in, and then they were going to give me their reports, and we're going to put that into a book, because that's the best way to further this field, to see if this team on this day at this time got the same result as this team on another day. You know, that's a good way to kind of push the field a bit forward. So that's some of the things you got to try to do, you know. I can set the house up with many different trigger objects. There's going to be 24/7 cameras in the house with trigger objects, so we can monitor when there's no human activity what's going on in this house. You know, there'll be barometric pressure readouts digitally, temperature readouts, the whole 9 yards. So if we're getting interaction with, say, a ball I put in the house, and we can also see that the temperature or the barometric pressure is being affected at the same time, that's pretty compelling stuff, you know. So you can say, yeah, you know, here's proof that we have something being physically manipulated by something unseen, and at the same time the environment's being affected as well while it's manifesting. There you go.
Have you had mediums go in there? Do you work with mediums on any of your investigations?
I haven't had any personally that I've brought in. I've had a couple people walk through, but there's been other mediums there, and people with abilities. One woman was an ex-law enforcement officer. Well, she was active law enforcement when she was doing it, and she had a whole nother take on this house than anyone else. And
I'll bet.
It's in the book. Her story's in the book, and she had connected with me right after I bought the house, and she was in the process of moving, and I was having to go to an event, and we made plans to talk right after a week later. And tell me how bizarre this is. So I come back, I'm waiting for her to get in touch with me. I don't hear anything. So I go to her Facebook page and message her. I find out she died. We're talking a young woman here, 40 years old, in her 40s, and no real history of any health issues, and they never listed why she died, how she died. It's very, very bizarre. So her story's in the book. She was going to give me a bunch of stuff that she had from the house as far as evidence and her whole reports that she wrote and what she thought was going on, and all of a sudden, boom. A week later, after we talk and we're supposed to meet, and she's going to give me all this stuff, and she's now deceased. Crazy. And she's a very pretty well-known person in the paranormal field and stuff. So I don't know. You know, was it the house? I don't know. Was it something in the house? I don't know. But that's pretty coincidental, if you ask me. Yeah.
Well, that's too bad. That's a shame.
Well, you know, you have to take into account with this house. This house is very dark. I don't know what the hell's happened. Also, you know, I didn't tell you either. Under the house is something very bizarre. So picture a cross in your mind, okay? This house is almost a perfect cross. From the air, it's a cross, no doubt about it. 100%. I've got Google satellite images of it. I've taken many drone footage of it. It's a cross. There's one section that looks a little wider because later in years they put an overhang porch on it, you know, just a extra little patio porch. But underneath the cross base, in this dead center of this cross, there's a fire pit dug with rocks around it, just like a fire pit, and there's ashes in it. And the crawl space is only no taller than 2 foot high. I have to belly crawl almost to get in there and crawl around. And so who in the heck would be building a fire under their house? You know what I'm saying? What the heck was going on here? And or was this house built on top of a graveyard intentionally? I don't know. So there's a lot more to be discovered here. If I had it my way, I would jack the house up 8 feet in the air and open that up and get in ground penetrating radar and the whole 9 yards. But that's going to cost me like 30 G's, and I don't have that kind of extra money. So, you know, there's a lot. Also, another bizarre aspect of the house in the original building plans. There's supposed to be a staircase to the upstairs, to the attic area, right? There is no staircase. It's either been covered up or it was never put in. But there's only one way into the upstairs. Guess how that is? Through the outside, and there's only one window, and you have to take the whole window out to get in there.
Really?
Very, very bizarre. Very bizarre.
If you get in there, can you see anything that was a staircase?
Yeah, no, I haven't even been up in there yet because it's there's like a 2-foot space from the window to the main power lines. One slip and you're fried. So, it's very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? So,
how about
there has been some groups before I owned it that went up there and popped the window out and they stuck a camera in there and they had some weird stuff going on. And the former owner, Brenda, the one I was telling you about, and that maintenance man, they wanted to paint it, right? They were painting the outside and they were up on they didn't have a ladder that was tall enough. They pulled a pickup truck up, stuck the ladder in the bed, and then climbed up there and was painting, and one person was holding the ladder. Well, when the maintenance guy went up there to paint, he said a woman rushed at him and screamed, "Get the F out of, get away from my effing house," or something to that effect, and the ladder was pushed backwards where he fell 20 feet onto his back. He was okay, knocked the breath out of him, so they put the ladder back up in the chair, and Brenda got pissed because they've had all kind of experiences up to this point already. And she said, "You're not running me out of this house." And she got mad. She climbed up on the ladder, and she said, and then he was holding the ladder for her, and she said the ladder just started shaking violently, and she had to climb down really fast. And that was just one of just a ton of experiences that they reported to me at the house.
Keep picking up on, and I have not read the book. Obviously, I didn't see this when I was, looking into just, the backstory on some things to ask you and whatnot for the show. Did not see it, did not know about it. I keep picking up on a wolf-like dog animal. Are there any stories about that or anything that you know of?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
No dog animals, but people have seen numerous shadow. Huh?
It's like a wolf dog type of a thing, and it's not nice. It's not good.
Well, I feel there's a portal in the center of that house because when you stand in it, I mean, you will feel dizzy. You'll feel disoriented. Somebody opened up something there at some time. I think things come in and go as they want,
Well, clearly you've had.
What else was? If you look at my Real Supernatural YouTube page, if you scroll down about 5 or 6 videos, look at the one that says shadow figure captured at the house. It's the most bizarre, craziest shadow figure captured by pure happenstance in the middle of the day in that house. Totally by accident when I was up there, because I'm trying to get a documentary done about this house, and my camera guy had put a GoPro on top of the door and totally forgot about it. We were done filming like interview stuff for the day, and we were packing gear in the back building. Nobody was in the house. Nobody was around the house. There was only 3 of us there. We were all in the building together. And you will see one of the most prolific shadow figures I've ever seen in my 30 plus years of doing this in broad daylight. And before you see the shadow figure, you will hear unexplained footsteps in the house, noises, shuffling, and then you'll.
We lost Dave.
He totally froze. Okay. There you are. You totally froze.
Yeah. If you know how the house is. Yeah. Go figure when I'm talking about this, but
exactly.
So the height of the window, where the shadow figure appeared, the height of the window. If a person would have been walking outside, and it would have been cut off at about the waist, the shadow figure in the room is from head to toe. So I mean, There's no doubt about it. It couldn't have been created from any person walking outside in the sunlight or anything. It's in the room, in the house, 100%.
Wow.
And see, here's the kicker. All the rooms behind the front of the house where the light would have had to come from to create a shadow figure in the house are all blacked out. I have them all blacked out.
Oh, wow.
So there's no incoming light on that side of the house. It's only on the side of the house where the shadow figure showed up, and it's just little bits of open windows, because you wouldn't believe the people I get coming there trying to look in the windows, trespassing on the property.
Oh, I can imagine.
I don't want people there because if they get hurt, that's on them. That's why I got it posted, no trespassing, But
Right.
yeah,
Right,
it's pretty crazy.
All right, here's the link to that.
Michael?
That was creepy.
That's yeah. So Dave, why do you think then? Why do you think why did clearly you were called or meant to buy this house, but if all of these other people are having issues and getting sick and dying, people who have lived there, who they made it their home, why do you think, why you?
I don't know. When then the owner, when she called me and approached me about if I wanted the house or not, it was me and one other person, and she said, "You two are the only two that I think can handle this house." Why she said that, I don't know, but that's what she told me. And other person wasn't in the shape to do it, and I was, and I did it. Just try to further the field and have a place to that I can do what I want to do in, and I don't have to worry about other people's property and that whole situation.
Right.
So,
but aren't you worried about that if other people have been killed or died or had such negative effects, why this house, if this house is so bad?
well, I don't know. I'm not scared of it. I mean, I'm leery of it. I take precautions, but I also know that my vibration's too high for it to hurt me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's what I was looking for. Like Tim
Uh-huh.
Shaw said last week, I'm the biggest badass there is, and you're not going to touch me, or however he says it,
That's not to
But
say I haven't been attacked, but I have.
Right.
At that house, I haven't. I've felt like something rushing on me a couple of times, but I did my thing and it backed off. But other people have been attacked there, and I always tell folks, you can come and investigate it, but let me tell you something. It's no joke. It's not for the rookie investigator. You need to know what you're doing, and even veteran investigators have had some rough times in that place. So,
right.
It is what it is.
Are there any burial mounds on the property or
no, but there are. That whole area, let me tell you, has got a lot of Native American ties. There's burial mounds around that area, and
Wow.
there was some major battles fought there between the settlers, the French settlers, and the Native Americans. The local folks that live in it's a teeny little town that doesn't even have a stoplight. It's got one blinking light. It's a farming community out in the middle of nowhere, basically.
Right.
But I've talked to several residents, and when they always tell me, man, we're digging our gardens and stuff, and we find pottery and arrowheads all the time. So two rivers converge there. Underneath the whole town, there's a huge aquifer, so you have all that water energy going on. You got the Native American aspects of it, and you've had who knows witchcraft and everything else done in this place. And nothing against Masons, but we know some Masons are into some really bizarre stuff and rituals and stuff. So, who knows, man? All that stuff combined could create a freaking whirlwind of paranormal activity, man. It's just, and here's another aspect. It's got the crossroads right in front of it. The old devil in the crossroads story. That's a spooky story. That's just another possibility, not to mention the suicides, there's I have another unconfirmed story that I'm trying to get more info on. Was the old neighbor told Brenda, the former owner, and she was in her 90s when she told Brenda this. Sometime in the 40s or 50s, this woman moved in the house as a renter. She had been married 3 times. All 3 of her husbands died of mysterious circumstances, and she moved in with either a late teens, early 20s son and a little girl that was like 5, 6 years old, right? And one day the little girl just came up missing. Nobody knew what happened to her. There wasn't like a big fuss made or anything, and it kind of just went away. Well, a short time later, her son hung himself in the house. And I'm thinking, okay, they found a child's arm bone. Did the mom kill the child? Was she a black widow killing her husbands for insurance money and decided to kill her daughter? What's going on here? So, and her parents her parents, this woman was told her parents knew the original builder of that house and said he was into all kind of bizarre stuff because he was a Mason and he was, I mean, if you're inside the house, there's all kinds of Masonic symbology. There's triangles built into the structure of the house pointing to the center of the cross, and underneath those triangles, at one time there was 4 entrances and exits to this house, and above each entrance and exit was the 3-sided triangle, which is a known symbol of the Masons. They got the triangle with the all-seeing eye right in the middle. So it was built to funnel energy in and out of this place. It's no doubt about it, 100%. I mean, on the outside of the house, there's sconces, real fancy sconces. They're built in the shape of an upside-down cross, but they're scrolled, they're scroll work. It's just very, very bizarre. And I had an insurance guy who's been in the business for over 40 years, and he's also a paranormal guy. I said, you got to come and look at his house. And he's from Indiana. So he came and looked, and he said he's never seen anything like this in all his years of, in building construction and insurance stuff. And then this other group came in. The guy was a 32nd degree Mason, and he started taking pictures and sending it to me here at my house. I said, dude, this house is full of Masonic symbology. This is that. And he sent me some paperwork only certain people can see, but he was nice enough to share it with me, if you know what I'm saying. Clear as a bell, pointed out what this means, what that means. And he said, you see this right here? And it was a circle on top of Solomon's temple pillars. He said it's turned the wrong way to full non-Mason members on purpose. So, there's just some bizarre stuff with this place, man.
I feel like that lady was practicing human sacrifice. That was like a hub for people to worship the demonic, and to practice their rituals and to, practice black magic and things like that. And I feel like it was human sacrifice. It wasn't insurance stuff so much. It was,
they just found her dead. They found her dead in her house a week, like not even a week after we talked. So I don't know, man. It's really bizarre. Really bizarre.
Yeah, I'd be GPRing the whole property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just under the house though is almost impossible because to get under there you have to belly crawl. You have to slide down in the hole first, and you turn over, and then you have like about a 2-foot high ceiling above you to crawl around in there. And when I first bought it, I spent a week at the house with my buddy Sean Austin, who's, you've seen him on Demon Files and Ghost Loop. We stayed at the house for a week and investigated it. And we crawled our butts under there. And let me tell you, it was very, very spooky and unnerving. We were hearing stuff shuffling around. There was no animals because I had, I'm carrying my cop light that will blind you. And I've got it on under there, and we're hearing shuffling noises all around us. We heard some disembodied voices under there. And then it was pretty intense, and of course he's deathly afraid of spiders. And we stayed there. Yeah, we stayed in there a good hour. And, it was pretty bizarre stuff going on. But for all I know, there's more bodies under that house. There's some strange mounds of dirt under there that I haven't even got to go. And like I said, I'd love to jack the house up and have GPR, but that's on down the line, hopefully, so.
Right. Very interesting. We may have to take a trip, Michael.
Yeah.
He's looking at me like freaking nuts. Yep. So what kind of things have you learned along the way, whether about yourself?
Well, I think I did have a friend of mine go in, and she has got a lot of abilities. She's very special person, and she said it's very, very bad there too. And it's witchcraft and demonic as well. And it's something I suspected as well, but she was there during when the shadow figure was captured, and then we had some profound experiences on the way back where some bizarre shit happened. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cuss.
No, we have a banner.
He has to cover because of my mouth usually, so don't worry about it.
Well, I cuss like a sailor, so it was bound to happen.
It's all good.
Would you believe? Oh, there it goes. The ticker's working now on the bottom. It didn't want to work.
There you go. But bizarre stuff happened with her phone, my phone, and even the guy that was filming for us, who doesn't even, he doesn't do paranormal. He's just a film guy. And he had some bizarre stuff happening to him. And so, yeah, this place is, it's unlike anything I've really seen. That's why I bought it, and I've been to some pretty nasty, negative locations, and this one so far tops them all. And I want other people to share their experiences there, because I don't want to say it because I'm the owner, of it, but that's why I bought it, and that's what I'm doing with it. But there's a lot of other people that before I ever owned it that have had some very, very negative experiences in that place. So, you can look up. It's also got its own, it's another YouTube channel. It's called Willow's Weep Official. I created that for the house and put other people's videos on there along with some of my own. So people can see, hey, it's not just me, man. There's other people that have had some profound stuff happen to them there. So,
but you're taking a scientific approach, Dave, and that's the most important.
I'm trying.
Thing.
There's only so much scientifically we can do in the paranormal, because we really don't understand what the paranormal is yet. We're just, really, essentially, we're still stuck almost 100 years ago. Only thing is we have better technology now. So until we start finding some little pieces of that puzzle, then we can start doing more scientific research and tests into these things. And I'm sure the government, we know the government has delved into this stuff for years. And I'm sure they have a lot more knowledge into certain aspects of what we're dealing with, with the whole advancement of quantum physics and scientists now confirming there are other dimensions.
Well, the Germans were doing it, and those records had to go somewhere. Somebody had to dig through that stuff.
We got them, and the Russians got them, and with the advancement in technology and stuff, what they're doing now is, I'm sure, phenomenal. But we just take baby steps and keep going and try to document and everything and do what we do. It's pretty phenomenal stuff. With like you said, the Germans, they had that whole Vril society, and they claimed to be in contact with extraterrestrials, and it was a known fact they were searching the world for ancient relics and ancient artifacts that had supposedly had all these divine powers and possibly ET technology. So they weren't doing that because they thought it was BS. They were doing it because they had some information that they knew it was real. Because they were spending billions of dollars looking for that stuff all around the planet.
We got a quick question here from Kimberly. She watched the video because I posted the link here. Was that okay? The video is creepy. Was that you pounding or the shadow figure pounding?
That was none of us. That was no living person.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna go watch that as soon as we're done.
I did just to search it, and I'm like, what?
I can't wait. Yeah.
The weird thing was, so how it all went down. Like I told you, we were packing up, and we were just about to leave, and he goes, "Oh crap, I forgot my GoPro camera." So he just ran back in the house, grabbed the camera off the door where he set it up for a different angle, and a month later, he calls me freaking the heck out, saying, "You're not. Oh my God, dude, I'm never going in that house again." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm sending you the footage right now." And he had not even looked at it for a month because it was just a backup camera for a different angle. It was a GoPro up on top of one of the doors. And he almost forgot it. And it was captured by pure luck, pure happenstance. You'll see, and the thing goes across the room, and it comes out of the room, followed by a white misty whatever. And like I said before, you can hear all these unexplained shuffling and footstep noises in there. It's pretty compelling, creepy video, man.
So what's your favorite piece of equipment to use when you're out there investigating?
I like EVPs, man. I use old tape. I use digital. I use, we have used reel to reel in the past, but I haven't used that because it's so bulky. But a good friend of mine, David Weatherly, he carried one of those things around with him for years, and would hook it up, and because you can literally catch like hours upon hours of audio on those things, and the microphones were really high end back in those days. But I use tape and I use digital, but what I really like to do is when I'm using multiple pieces of equipment and I'm getting something on this one, I'm getting backup on this and this, and I got REM pods going off or millimeter hits at the same time I'm capturing EVPs. You put all that stuff together, boom, you got something there, and for me, I always say my best piece of equipment is me, because I've done this for so long now. I mean, I can almost walk into a place and I can feel the energy. I can feel if it's sad, if it's mad, if it's heavy, if it's, you can pick up on that if you know how to use your body. Listen to your body. When the hair on the back of your neck stands up or the hair on your arms, that's telling you something. It's the old fight or flight. What is that? That's bizarre.
It's your intuition.
Yeah.
That's your intuition, my dear.
No, I was hearing some weird feedback or buzzing.
Oh, me too. You heard that too? I've marked it 3 times during the show tonight.
But I
tell
people, use your body, folks, because listen to it. It's telling you something, and that really works,
Well, that's why I ripped off my first set of earbuds, because I was getting so much feedback, and I'm like, this never happens with those. So that's why I just
what I like to do, I walk into a place and the hair on the back of my neck or my arm stands up. The first, I immediately grab my recorder and start doing an EVP session, because I know there's something that's happening, something's trying to manifest, or my body's picking up on the energy, or something's going on around me. So if you listen to that and you can do that, that's a great tool to be able to be aware of, because it's telling
that's
you
your
something.
Intuition. That's your gut.
Yeah.
That's you're connected in that way, which is important for sure.
Absolutely.
What are some of if you had to, as a paranormal investigator, what are like their top 3 lessons that you've learned, the things that are really important to keep in mind, or that you find, even if it's just for you, that you do or you feel you need to do, or that's important for you to do?
Keep an open mind, and don't get lackadaisical. Make sure you protect yourself because before your investigation, during and after, because you learn, like I said, I learned the hard way, especially that one time. And just try to help people. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I do this. I've done hundreds upon hundreds of residentials that I never talk about, because it was very crazy stuff that was happening to people, and I don't even share most of those cases, because that's a confidentiality situation.
Sure.
So, some people don't mind if you talk about it, but others, they don't want, they don't want that out in the public, and that's fine. But, have good intent when you're doing this stuff, and do it because you love it and have a passion. Don't do it because you think you're going to get on a TV show. It's not going to happen. 99.9%, you're not going to get on a TV show.
Yeah. There's a higher calling with this, with this stuff. There's a higher calling.
How many reports do you get? How many reports do you get that people are trying to get onto a show?
Oh man, you hear people talking about it all the time at a conference, or this, we're getting interviewed for a show. And I say, well, yeah, you probably will. They're constantly putting out stuff for shows. But most of the shows that are being put out there or pitched never even happen. I mean,
right.
How many reports do you get people coming to you? And
like residential.
Yeah,
people are legitimately asking for help versus people who just want 30 seconds.
I really need something, and you really want to help somebody that really needs help, and it's more up here because they watched so many shows, and
right.
Well,
do you see an increase with all the channels? I guess that's
not necessarily increase, but I get, it varies. Sometimes I'll get 5, 10 a week, people, doing this, that, and the other. So I run them through an interview when I'm I'm backlogged on cases right now, 6 months, you know. But I try to run them through a quick process where I've been doing it long enough where I can tell, okay, well, it's probably this or that. And if it's something that I think needs immediate attention, you know, of course I move that to the front, and then I'll go actually physically go there, or I will put them in touch with a team or clergy that is closer to that area. I'll pass it off to someone I trust, you know, that can handle it and do it like that. Because, I mean, let's face it, I'm not financially able to just pick up and fly to Canada or across the country on any given day. I mean, who is? I mean, I'm not a multimillionaire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
not on a civil servant's retirement.
no. And, you know, so I try to help everyone I can in some way or another. If they need help, I'll try to put them in touch with folks in that area that I know and trust.
That's awesome.
And get them help, you know. So, I mean, if I was able to, I'd be gone every day doing a case. I mean, basically that's how many requests I get for, hey, I saw this, or I'm having this go on in my house. Do I have demons? And I'm like, probably not, but you know what's going on, and you know, this and that.
Yeah.
But there is some paranoia associated with, like, to answer your question, there is probably some more paranoia out there because of some of the TV shows and whatnot. And then you have these groups of people that go into people's homes and tell them they've got demons, and the people are freaking out and move out, you know, when it's a totally unnecessary situation. Because they don't know what they're doing, and they watch TV and they think that's how you investigate, and that's just not the case, you know. Unfortunately, you have that aspect to deal with. I've spent a lot of time cleaning up cases that other groups have went to, and these people are ready to sell their house and move out when it was nothing but something very easy to fix, whether it be animals in the walls or freaking, you know, some minor poltergeist type of activity or something to that effect. So, you know, to anyone that's listening out there that may have some stuff going on in their house, always get second and third opinions before you run off and just have some local yokel group, you know, research people, you know, and see what their background is, and before you let people into your house, because you know, there's some people out there that just don't know what they're doing, and they're winging it, and they're telling you this, that, and the other one. It's just not the case, you know.
Thank you.
It is what it is. You know,
absolutely.
it's unfortunate, you know. And then you got, you know, there's on the flip side of that, you got these people that been around a while, and they're known people, and they charge people huge amounts of money to come and help them, and I think that's wrong too. That's totally wrong. You know, I've never ever charged anyone to go and help them ever. Now, if they want to kick you some gas money or something, hey, that's fine. You know, thanks for driving 6 hours to my house. Here's $20 for gas. You know what I mean? But, you know, I've never asked for anything.
Being kind and grateful.
You know,
there's a difference.
So, you know,
I
mean, but yeah, I mean, there's people out there charging. There was one group I've never heard of, some new group, and they were charging $1,500. They had a price list: $1,500 to clear demons, $1,000 to bless your property. I mean, it was like a menu, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So the word got out on them real quick, and they, you know, I mean, I couldn't believe it. You know, it's just like, what, you know, these
the rest of us are very bad
snake charmer salesman here, you know, selling the, you know, I'll sell you a rock and tell you it's a piece of gold type of thing, you know. I'm just like, wow, man, you got to be kidding me, dude. You know. But there's people out there that are looking to take advantage of people. So if you're listening and you're having some kind of activity going on, research people before you let them into your house.
Well, and I think you said something important too, because there's enough of us out there, you know, that if we can't get to you, you know, or if, you know, it's not possible, like you said, we're not rich. We don't get rich doing this, clearly, especially if we're not going to charge people to help them because they can't help themselves. But there's enough of us out there who are willing or able to put you in touch with people that we trust. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to work out perfectly every time, but at least we're a resource in a way that you can trust someone to reach out to someone else. I've had to do it myself, and I've had people do it with me. So, you build the resources, you build the networks, who you've seen work or who you can get along with, you trust your gut. If we can't get to you, at least we can help. So yeah, make phone calls. You don't have to just stick to someone in your general area. You can reach out to other people that you see like on a broadcast or, here on a podcast or whatever, or find on Facebook and just ask, is there something you can do to help me? Do you know of somebody? We'll do what we can to help you, even if we have to research people and call them ourselves first. I've done that for people, because somebody can come in, even if they don't have bad intentions, but if they don't know what they're doing, truly, they can make it so much worse for you. And then you're in a lot of trouble.
And let's face it,
bad people.
And let's face it, there's no guarantees in this. Some hauntings can take years to get rid of. And if you're going to charge people, I mean, there's certain people that do charge for certain things, and that's their deal. I don't have nothing to do with that. But if you're going to charge people, you better be willing to sit there and stay with that family until it's done, and not just go in and then you're going to charge them every single time to go in and do your thing. And, that's what I have a real problem with, because there's some certain people out there that I know that have charged people plane tickets and a flat fee to come in and cleanse and bless their home and themselves and everything else. But then the people calling back say it didn't work, it's still going on, and they say that's because you didn't do what I told you to do. Now that's a bunch of BS. If you are the real deal and you are who you say you are, then you need to go back and you need to stick it out with that family for the entire duration until that activity is null and void or down to nothing. And and that's
but sometimes you can't get rid of it. Sometimes there are. I mean, there's one actually a house close to me where the history is what it is. I've been in there and cleansed it. I brought somebody else in who is a demonologist. He went in there and did it. The history on that house is so bad, and for whatever reason, we don't always have an answer. So all I can say is, for whatever reason, that particular house, we're never going to get rid of it. We either have to try to calm it, or the people are going to have to move, because there's not going to ever be any getting rid of it.
It's in the very land itself. Sometimes it's the property is stained with the blood and that energy forever, and you're not going to get rid of it. Sometimes it's just better to move. But each case is different. You don't know what you're dealing with until you get in there. So,
if the house is on Zillow all the time, there's probably a reason it's on Zillow.
And no problem, Dave will buy it.
Yeah, for the right price, I'll buy it.
And from what I've seen, most of those houses are, folks' first time house. So they usually don't have the money to turn around and cough up thousands of dollars, because they bought the house because the price it was at, And then you're trying to take advantage of somebody like that who's starting out. It's just not.
Happens more than you think, too, and it's really disgusting. And hopefully, those people will be outed and, taken care of really quick. So I don't know,
So where do you want to go that's cool? I mean, you got your, but where do you want to go?
Next year I'm going to Italy and doing a haunted castle tour for 10 days. And I'm going to be staying in Lep Castle and the prison island over there. I'll be staying there filming all that. And then I'm doing 8 days of public events with people that are coming to investigate some of Ireland's most haunted castles, man. It's going to be awesome.
Wow. That is amazing. Those are trips you'll never forget.
That's not the one.
That's where my people are from. So I've been wanting to go over there for years, and do all this. And
Ireland or Italy?
Ireland.
Oh, okay. Because my people come from both. So
Well, I lived in Italy for 5 years when I was in the Air Force. So I used to walk the streets of Venice and do EVP sessions. I lived 30 minutes from Venice, one of the oldest cities in the world, so it was pretty. But one place I always wanted to go and I could never get the locals to take me was Poveglia Island. They would not touch that place with a. I mean,
What is it?
That's the island where if you ever, if you watch Ghost Adventures, they went there. They got on there. Luckily, somehow they talked one of the locals into taking them out there and got permission. And basically, during the Black Plague years in the Renaissance, that island was turned into a hospital for plague patients, and it's literally built on bones. I mean, that place is super, super bad, man.
Really?
And look it up. It's now
in Italy. I should call them.
Yeah, well, it's right out there, right off the Venice area, right there, and it's an island, and it's thousands of dead people, from what I understand.
Wow.
And of course, the Colosseum was awesome. I actually walked around there and done some EVP and got some Italian EVPs and some EVPs in Latin and some really cool stuff there. But yeah, it's really cool because Europe has a lot more history than we do, of course. Yeah. And there's so many. I did a 1500s monastery there that was super friggin' haunted. I had two big military police buddies with me, and it was all grown up and stuff, and there was satanic stuff spray painted all over it. And we got in there, it was real quiet, and we heard this chanting, and they both hauled ass and left me standing there by myself. And these were two big old dudes. I mean, yeah. I was like, you chicken shit. Yeah. It's called Lucido Monastery.
That habit of leaving me places.
Yeah. I was like, wow, dude, And they were like, man, screw that stuff, Spinks. I'm out of here, man. They hauled butt, and I'm sitting there trying to get EVPs of this, So yeah, I thought that was funny. I rode those guys for years after that. Man, they'd say, "You're crazy, man. You're crazy." But yeah, it's called Lucido Monastery. You can look it up on Google. It's pretty cool. And I did an old cotton mill there, and I did a lot of places over there in Italy when I was there.
Yeah, I'll have to ask my cousins that I have over there about that. See what they have to say. Yeah, that'd be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, that's crazy! I can't believe it's 10 o'clock already.
That was fast 2 hours.
That was a very fast 2 hours. You're having fun, right?
Yeah, that's right, man.
Oh my gosh! Wow, this has been a really, really cool session. This has been amazing. We could talk to you forever,
Oh yeah, I can talk about this stuff all night, man. I love it.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Anything else before we wrap up, Mike? Because I know we probably have to go soon.
No, I wanted to know where he was going to go next. Teddy's on in a few minutes. Hope maybe we'll catch you down in PA if this COVID thing holds out.
I'm hoping to get down there and test that myself.
Through there. Yeah.
Cool.
So check that battlefields out and stuff. When you want to get out for Bigfoot, let us know. Definitely take the road trip down there.
Yeah. I was just out filming that. I was out in the woods for 2 weeks, working on a Bigfoot documentary here in West Virginia. So
good for you.
Yeah. So all kinds of stuff going on.
Well, keep us informed on what projects you have coming up so we can post them in our group and keep folks up and around. You and I are a member of a couple other groups there with Eric, and so I try to keep track of everybody who's doing what. But if you've got new books coming out, we will definitely post the links in on here. I just wanted to see which best way you wanted to get them posted. Good luck with the Indiana parcel.
Yeah,
I've been to a couple of those places. Just the cop senses don't go near the place.
Yeah, man. It's
the medium senses. So we're going near the place.
Yeah, you'll feel it. You'll feel it when you go there, man. Let me tell you.
Just a quick question about that, about your house. Is there a barn or something on that house? Do you have a barn on that property?
It's right behind the house, about 25 feet behind the house. There's a 40 by 40 metal building that's was put up, years later, of course.
There it is.
Yep.
It was put up how many years ago?
I don't know when it was built, honestly. I mean, it's not that old. It's got a cement floor and everything.
No, I'm saying, no. There was a big old wooden barn that burned down. that was more like the hub before the house was the hub.
Mm.
I'm seeing this old.
Now there is a story that a house burnt down on that property with the whole family in it. I haven't verified that yet either.
The property just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, we got to plan a road trip there.
So,
oh my God, that's insane. Yeah, it's kind of like if you're looking at the house, I feel like it would have been behind the house to the right, and I feel like there's a field. Is there a field or a vacant
well, there
lot
used to be a big like farm property at one time. That's all I know. I don't know how many acres it was, but it was a big farm, family-owned, farm or whatever. Now it's houses. My property's 3 acres, and it's like long and skinny, and then there's houses all around right next. It's in a neighborhood basically.
And so you're in a neighborhood. Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm seeing the way it used to be. Gotcha.
Yeah, way long time ago, it was a big piece of property. What I understand.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Well,
when you look at the video, you'll see it.
You never know.
Watch that shadow figure video and see what you feel about that.
I will for sure.
Pretty crazy.
I will, absolutely. It's a male.
Mm-hmm.
It's a man. It's a young guy. It's a young
There's
man.
a lot more to it. I don't want to give away everything on the radio because I want people to read my book. I did a lot of time and effort. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
No, and that's what I said. We will post all the links to your literature and get that out there for everybody. And your experiences. I've met you in person. We've been to a couple of conferences, and I've seen you talk about the Bigfoot adventure, and with your grandfather in person.
Yeah,
folks, he's right there. He's showing that, and we appreciate it. For those folks that are turning in late, you can catch us here. You can catch us back on iTunes or Spreaker or Spotify, and there's 3 other locations that got added this week.
As well as you subscribe to our YouTube, guys. We're almost to 100. That's a goal for us. It's our first goal, 100. So
cool.
We appreciate you coming on with us. Anything else you want to get out there? Any events you want people? I know COVID or.
I know this coming weekend I'm supposed to be at a small event up at Sanford School in Moundsville. As far as I know, that's still going on. And then of course the Gettysburg event at the end of this month.
Okay.
Other than that, there's some possible appearances, but everything's up in the air with this COVID thing. But just check out my website if you want to, read my books. And what's cool about the Willow's Week book, by the way, is it also has other investigators in that book and sharing their experiences as well. So it's not just all my research and my investigations; it's other people in there and the former owners' experiences in there.
Very nice. It's always interesting to get different perspectives, different experiences, different perceptions on things. Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's great. I can't wait. I'm excited.
All right. You've been sitting in that car for 2 hours. God, I hope you had the air on at least.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I got a new house I'm remodeling, so soon I'll be in my own office where I can do it properly and everything. But this is the most quiet place. My kids aren't yelling around and all that stuff, so.
My dog started barking earlier and people are coming and going. Oh, I get it. For sure. Dave, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I had a good time. I know I think everybody enjoyed it, and it was very informative. Very informative. We'd love to have you back.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Anytime, just let me know. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Stay well. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Stay safe, and talk to you guys later. Have a good night.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow.
So that was awesome.
That was awesome. That was a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah. And folks, thank you for tuning in tonight. YouTube. We hit that 100 mark. I know we're spread over multimedia, so when you guys tune in, I know we're some folks are on the podcast listening on YouTube or on Spreaker and Spotify and and iTunes and Google Play and all that. And we appreciate those folks there, and the folks that are on Kristie's page and WLFE DB Radio, Tactical Bigfoot Research, and our true fans there at Where's My Sage. So, we are coming to you from multiple different locations. The next reading show on the 21st, though, will be on YouTube.
YouTube only. So spread the word. Get your peeps and your family to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out. And you never know. My impulsive side, might just kick in and say, I'm bored one afternoon. I need to do, another reading show. Maybe without Mike. You never know. He'll come home from work one day and go, you went live?
Yeah.
You never know what I'm going to do. So
thank you all.
Yes.
We appreciate everybody being there with us tonight. And like we always say, sample on.
Stay safe and stay well for sure, everybody. Stay vigilant. Be kind to each other. Okay. Take care of each other. That's really important right now. So we have a lot going on. Watch our pages. Watch all of our stuff, because we have some cool things coming up and a couple adventures coming our way. So yes. Awesome. So have a wonderful night, everybody. Stay safe and sample on.